Beaujolais has become a very popular wine, and it would be interesting to understand how it is that that's happened. I'd like to talk to Master Sommelier Rebecca Fineman and Chris Gaither of Engrafted in San Francisco. I'm joined right now by Rebecca and Chris. Hey, y'all.
Hi.
Hey.
Who's the kitty?
Oh, this is Greta.
Hi, Greta.
I think that there's a little bit of bias in terms of buyers when carrying Beaujolais, and I think a lot of that is related to just its overall perception, but also maybe a little bit of a lack of understanding of what the region can really provide as well. So I guess it's one of those things. It's kind of a trickle down thing where if people aren't investing in Beaujolais and seeing it as a really potentially amazing wine that provides both really high quality as well as value, and they don't translate that to their customer base, it's hard to get people to really rally around Beaujolais and purchase it and spend money and enjoy it.
And what's your expectation of Fleury, just even before we actually taste?
Yeah, I always think of Fleury as being very floral,
Yep.
very red fruited and pretty red flowers. Chris?
I think about Fleury as being kind of juicy, bright, very easy, just a little bit softer than I would say Morgon, more fresh.
There's a lot of minerality coming through. It smells like a Fleury. It's pretty, it's floral, It's soft red fruited, but it has more intense minerality than I would typically expect from this appellation.
I feel like it comes off with a little bit more texture and just a touch more weight than I would normally expect from some producers. But this is, it rests on the palate with just a touch more richness.
Much more complexity.
Yeah, more weight.
Darker fruit, more intense.
It comes off with a lot more savoriness on the nose. There's some peppery notes going on.
Yeah.
But Morgon is one of those crus that ages really well. And you can see why. Just having that sort of structure, not necessarily more pronounced tannins or anything of that effect, but just the complexity and the fruit and all of that over time is going to soften down and become more elegant. But it tastes great even in its youth. It is one of my favorite crus.
And
you know that already.
This does have more of a tannic backbone compared to the Fleury. This is very noticeable. For me, tannin helps the interplay between tannin and acidity helps to create an overall impression of, if you will, texture. And for me, it makes a big difference in how I'm able to enjoy the wine. Depending on the temperature of the wine, if it's a little bit cooler or if it's a little bit warmer, hopefully cooler.
Yeah.
It's a much more pleasant experience, and it's almost like biting into a piece of just barely ripe, like just ripe fruit, and you feel that slight bitterness from the skins, but at the same time that juicy acidity. That's what makes me appreciate Beaujolais, because it's a very in many cases a very honest style of wine that will do that.
It's all about balance, which I think is why people get deceived and they don't think that there's any discernible differences in tannins. It's sort of like if you were putting together a chamber ensemble, you wouldn't just have one violin and a bunch of woodwinds. That doesn't make any sort of sense, right? It's all about the balance of the wine. And this has more noticeable fruit. It's darker, it's more heavy-handed. And because of that, it can withhold higher tannins. But we're not talking about the difference between medium and high tannins. I mean, it's still subtle. It's been somewhere in the range of medium to medium plus. I think that's what Beaujolais does at its best. It really, in many cases, can be better than its comparable wine in Burgundy for, a third, a quarter of the price.
Oh, yeah.
Take a Premier Cru Chambon Musigny, you spend $150 on the bottle. You get a really good cru of Beaujolais, you spend $30.
Yeah.
I try to remind people that it's not a huge investment. So if it's not the type of wine for them, they're not really going to be out on a loss. They haven't spent hundreds of bucks on this, but just have fun with it. Get a bottle of Beaujolais, go to a barbecue. Remember, it's a social wine. It's always meant to be social. It's meant to be fun. And then when you get to a point where you really want to explore complexity, it offers that as well. It's really one of the best wines because of that it offers something fun and easy or complex and serious, no matter where you are in your wine education and your understanding of tastes.
I tell people, especially when people are buying it right now in the shop, I tell them to maybe let it get a little bit lower in temperature, put it in the fridge maybe 15 minutes before they decide to drink it. So that way it can kind of be a little bit cooler. And there's a little bit more interesting, if you will, interplay between the acidity, the noticeable acidity and tannic structure of the wine. And I think it makes them appreciate the wine in a different context, because a lot of people don't really think about, oh, is this wine going to be great right now? And is it at the right temperature? People don't think about that. They just pop the wine open and drink it, especially for reds, right? So that automatically will set the stage for them to kind of be a little bit more deliberate about how they enjoy the wine. And then hopefully they notice that the wine is delicious, whatever the Beaujolais is, and they appreciate it for what it is. But we always tell them, I try to tell them that this is a different experience slightly than what you would expect from, let's say, Pinot Noir. And it's a lot of people like to compare Gamay and Pinot Noir, but it's better to look at them as completely separately different things, and kind of put them in their respective places.
And yet at the same time, some of the best tasters in the world still can't taste any of the differences between a really good Burgundy and a really good Beaujolais.
Yeah, true.
So as much as they are different, there are a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Between Beaujolais and classic Burgundy, classic Pinot Noir, there are both similarities and differences. But I always feel like there is a more laid-back attitude to the people in Beaujolais. In Burgundy, there is an earthiness, but also a reverence for the history of the place, a profound honoring of the ethereal character of the greatest wines. Bordeaux, frankly, can seem very businesslike, as befits a place that was controlled by the British for centuries. Beaujolais, instead, seems to revel in its easiness, at times simplicity, with an unabashed passion for food and drink and the way they can play together. The average inn can deliver amazing food as well. Maybe that's true of France in general, but I suppose that Beaujolais has historically been worth less than these other more famous areas, with industrious farmers earning a once hardscrabble living. It has led both to the recognition that hard work can be a pleasure and that pleasure can lie in the simple things in life. Thank you for watching. In our next episode, I think we need to talk to a winemaker, so we can get the skinny on all this stuff. So why not talk to a winemaker who's also a master of wine? Nova Catamatre.